This revolving door of people going in 5, 10, 20, 30 times into prison. I mean, how many times do these women have to go to prison before somebody says, hey, we can help this woman? Prison sets these women up for failure. So when I got released from prison, I got, you get a bus ticket, a welfare check in your pocket, and you get to put on your lovely stinky clothes, which stink, they're dirty, they don't fit you anymore because of course you've gained weight, and you're left on your own to find your way back.
I have this plan, and I have a recovery house or somewhere to go to, or I've contacted my family, and everything's all set up. Like even just this last time, everything's all set up. But then I know that when I hit the gate, or that morning when I wake up, the mind starts to work. Like, okay, I wanted to get high.
Hello.
I never had anyone who cared that I got out of jail. My family had disowned me years before. I had no one to help me when I got released from prison, but I knew I could go back to the streets. So the first time I got busted for trafficking and did my first year in jail.
In 1998 was the first time I went to prison in BC. That prison was awesome.
Prison's fun. It's family. It's like your own community. You know everybody. You're not judged. You're accepted for who you are. It's such a structured life, and you have a purpose in there, right? You have a job, and when you get released, what purpose do you have?
And it's good. Like it's a good gig compared to life on the streets.
I found alcohol when I was 12 years old. And I fell in love with alcohol. I liked who I became when I was on alcohol. I wasn't this shy, timid, scared girl. I could talk to people, I could socialize when I was drinking. I started looking at my childhood abuse and my mother beating me and being raped as a child, and it was really hard and painful. Drugs was always my solution to my problem. It wasn't my problem. My problem is that I couldn't deal with the pain from my childhood, and so I just kept masking that pain. With crack, zero feelings, absolutely no feelings. It's the instant, as soon as that rock melts and the first bit of smoke goes in your lungs, it's an instant love.
That's what I liked. I always liked that action, that edge, that gritty edge of life. It was, yeah.
So to support myself, I started selling drugs. I made good money at it. And I was a good businesswoman. I lived like a millionaire every day. I wanted to drop $300-400 at the casino, no problem. Wanted to go spend $200 on a pair of jeans, I could do it. I have an addiction to clothing too, so I never wore the same clothes twice. So I'd have a house for clothes. I had a house where no one knew where I was, so when I needed to sleep, I could fall asleep and wake up with my money and my dope. And then I had 2 other houses I sold dope out of. I had a relationship with the landlord where I'd renovate the houses, fix them up, and so they didn't look like crack shacks anymore. And he would, in return, he'd let me know when the cops were going to raid the houses.
Sometimes I would have to break into a car or something, and I used to steal credit cards from cars or money, and just stealing stuff to sell it or to give it to the dope guy or whatever it was. But every day was a grind, and every day was different, and especially wired on heroin, that was desperate, total desperation. I knew that I wasn't ready to be a mom, even at 28. You know, I just knew, because I knew although I'd been trying to adapt into this lifestyle of John Boy Walton and family, I just knew that I was my pattern. You know, I was destined for failure, and so I made an agreement with my husband that if I didn't like this mothering thing, that he would have to assume responsibility with her. And when Sierra was a year old, I was smoking crack in the bathroom at her birthday party. And it spiraled downhill from then. I don't think we live a life of crime and addiction and dysfunction and abuse and everything that has gone on in my life since childhood. I don't think we live those kinds of lives and then all of a sudden we just get better.
For about 2.5 years, we had a mother-baby program inside the prison. At one time, I think we had 3 babies, and that was nothing like a slap in your face, you know. And then I started thinking of my kids and missing my kids, and so I asked somebody actually to find out where my children were, you know, if there was a way I could find out where my children were. And of course, it's like, what do you mean you have children? And I went, yeah. So they actually blackmailed me into, they would help me find my children if I took this program.
So I bonded with, as much as I knew how, with the moms and the children. And I formed some bonds and I made some commitments. And so, you know what, when I got out, that gave me a purpose. It gave me a purpose. And I also was starting to make steps in my own daughter's life, getting closer to her. And so that too, you know, because all throughout addiction, the only thing that stopped me from killing myself was that I didn't want to leave my daughter without a mom.
Did I love my kids? I love my kids as much as what I knew love was. So, yeah. Like I said, I mean, I've always asked that question, what is love? And I guess unless you look at my granddaughter. My granddaughter's taught me what love is in the last couple of years. You know, I didn't realize, you know, if I dealt with my issues and then, you know, that my addiction problem would go, you know. And when I finally did these programs and started working on my, you know, I made it out of the gates without using. You know, I ended up going to a treatment center and I ended up, you know, staying clean and staying in this program and working on my issues, you know, and it's been a long road. Like, I mean, I've been doing trauma counseling for 3 years now.
You know, I think it's the judicial system that keeps that revolving door happening. It's not the prison. It's the way that the system works, right? About incarcerating people for petty crimes, women in particular, who have children. And it's just really sad.
How is the prison even supposed to take time? They're not even there long enough for the prison to even help them, you know? I mean, if they gave them, you know, a longer time for them to actually start feeling their feelings inside prison and dealing with their issues, more women would succeed. You know, it's heartbreaking that no one cares and no one's doing nothing to help these women. You know, deal with the trauma, you know, you'll deal with the addiction. Deal with addiction, you deal with the crime. thing about jail is, I mean, it should be about healing. I mean, most of the women, I mean, like 95% of the women in there are in there because they're drug addicts, not because they're criminals. I mean, they're doing criminal behavior to support their drug habit, but they're wounded. You know, there's trauma, and they're not getting the help they need. I mean, they need to be healed. I mean, and somebody needs to care about these women. I mean, the healing needs to be done, and there's not. And with us, the mother-baby program was a huge step to us. The problem's getting worse, you know. Every month we're burying somebody else who's dying out there in addiction who have been in prison. And there's no reason why women who go to prison shouldn't be getting the help that they need.
We want to advocate and try to get on board more of bringing the community in and more of the women being able to go out. And we want more of a therapeutic environment in our provincial institutions. And thanks for letting us speak.
Yeah.
We can't even support them if there's like 30-day sentences. That just doesn't make sense. I really like your idea about, you know, not having any sentences under sort of 6 months, like
Or over 6 months. Instead of punishment, let's make it a healing place.